Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hotho. On today's episode, we're talking with Jon Falkenburg. Jon competes in the short stature division in adaptive CrossFit. He competed at the 2024 Adaptive CrossFit Games where he placed sixth, and he's currently competing in the 2025 season and just finished the Open in third place. Jon, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. How you doing this evening?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm kind of, as we're recording this, I'm anxiously awaiting 25.3, seeing if the leaks are going to be true.
Yeah.
Do you buy into any of it?
I don't know, man, because I know there was that one photo that looked like the animal fur, and now there's the one with the tiles. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm like, okay, do we have a heavy bear complex and then wall walks in row, or honestly, I'll just wait until it gets released.
Right. And I'll say, I think what I'm looking most forward to is watching Kevin and Roderick go at it in the wheel wad release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who do you got?
I'm going Kevin.
Yeah. I think Kevin's going to take it unless Roderick tackles him or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see. I'm definitely have it marked on my calendar for the stream, so we'll see.
Yeah. So for the folks who hear this when we release this at a later date, you'll get to know if we're good at guessing workouts and we're good at guessing how a wheelchair athlete and a non-wheelchair athlete will compete against each other. We'll see. So Jon, hey, I'm so glad you're here. You are a short stature athlete competing this year and last year in the CrossFit adaptive space. Can you tell me a little bit about what it is to be short stature? I mean, the name sort of says enough as it is, but can you flesh that out for us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So short stature, it's like, you could be, hey, I'm a short person. Am I short stature? Unfortunately not. So the way that it gets classified is mainly someone that has dwarfism or a form of dwarfism or achondroplasia. So joints being a certain way, limbs being a certain way as far as like bowing or lockout, proportions, and then also like height and wingspan.
Okay. So it's sort of a certain ratio of height and wingspan, and then something that goes on with like the way your bones kind of were created.
Or developed. Okay. Yeah.
Developed. Yeah. That's a better way to say it. And you're born with this, like it just, when you're a baby, they know that you have it.
Yeah, so technology is a little more advanced now. Like I think you can actually find out prior to birth, but normally, like way back in the day, especially with me, I'm pretty sure it's as soon as you come out of the womb, you can get a good idea of whether or not the child has it.
Okay. And we were talking before the show that there's a little bit of genetics involved in this. I mean, so you can kind of predict it too in some ways.
Yeah, in some ways. Yeah, it's you can do like your own pre-screening too and find out if you have the gene, if it's recessive or if it's dominant. Of course, if your partner has the same exact gene or, however you get the child, but there's a way to find out. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. And so your mom was short stature. Is that right?
Yep. So I got it from my mama.
Okay. And, but your dad was average height.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Like 5'9", 5'10".
So what was that like growing up, I guess? What is it like growing up short stature? I mean, I assume you had a normal house, but you had different ways to kind of get around and do everyday things, just like any adaptive athlete would have to adapt some things, but your adaptations look different.
Yeah, absolutely. I know some are able to get modifications like lower counters and things like that, but didn't have the luxury of that. So regular house, I'd like to say it helped me out with problem solving. So I became an expert climber of climbing on the counters to get plates or dishes or things like that. Or, if grabbers were a huge thing in my household. And also honestly, like using other things. So if you could think of like, I say this in a joking way, but like, John used tool. So it's like using one object to grab another object type of thing.
That makes sense. Has technology helped that problem for short stature people?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not super up to date on it, but I think there are better tools as well as like attachments and things like that to utilize.
Okay.
And
So
step
like,
stools are my best friend for sure.
okay. Yeah. I was going to ask. So, okay. So there's just like you just keep a step stool like in the kitchen,
Hmm.
pretty much in every room.
I have like two main ones. So I have
Okay.
one for the kitchen area and then one for the laundry because unfortunately, like I grew up with a top loading washer.
Mm,
So always fun to more like a balancing and gymnastics act of like balancing while reaching in to try to get things and using the counterweight to get back out of the washer.
yeah. Leading up to knowing that we were having this conversation tonight, I was doing a few things, making dinner, doing laundry, playing with my son. And I was just thinking what those adaptations would have to be like, right?
Hmm.
To do those things that you're doing. So thanks for sharing that. Cause yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of stuff that average height people, whether whether we have a different disability or not, we take for granted.
Hmm.
So
I will say this, just a quick little humor plug.
yeah.
My latest selfie series is going to either like a restaurant or a public restroom, anything like that, and taking a mirror selfie. And it's mainly if the mirror is obscenely tall or
Yes.
high. So you'll just see like the little corner of my phone or sometimes like some of my hand or the top of my forehead. It's yeah. So I'm like, oh, cool. Top of my head looks great. Awesome.
That's funny. Growing up then, did you play sports? Were you active as a kid growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. So my mom was very active and she always was like the mindset of like, go get it and get out there instead of, letting things come to you. So grew up basically playing any and every type of sport under the sun. T-ball, I definitely could have gone professional, but it after that it was mainly like pickup sports with kids in the neighborhood or family friends from like flag football to like skateboarding, street races on our feet or on our bicycles, not with cars, and just very very active, and then obviously progress throughout um, growing up to like college and things like that.
Were there parts of growing up with dwarfism that were difficult?
Oh, absolutely. Not going to sugarcoat it. So getting either a stigma placed on you,
Hmm.
whether it's, you know, even with sports, like, oh, I'm not going to pick him, he's not
Mm,
fast. Or even at the grocery store, having to get something on the top shelf to like, honestly having a small mental breakdown of like being trapped in a public restroom because you can't reach the handle to open the door.
wow.
So yeah, so growing up was like that, and kids are mean.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to imagine what it's like now, just with the so dinosaur age. We didn't even have AIM yet; we had dial up and all that. But like the use of social media, it's a great tool, but also like I couldn't imagine what it would be like growing up with all of those resources, for better or worse,
Right.
readily
Like
available.
the jerks always find a way.
Hmm.
And now they have more technology at their disposal to be
Hmm.
worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, that story of being trapped in a bathroom though, like that has to be, I mean, did that happen frequently or did it happen just enough times that you're like, that was terrifying?
Yeah, it was not too frequently because I would be lucky, like I would time it well and someone would like be coming in and I'd be
Yeah.
going out. Um, but that one time it was like a while until that next person came. And
Wow.
yeah, I just hung out and was like, all right, cool. So I'll just be here now.
Oh my gosh. And someone was
Yeah.
like waiting for you on the other side, like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
parent or
Like,
something like that.
yep. Parents were like, I hope he's okay.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah, just things you would never think about growing up with
Hmm.
with dwarfism. But growing up, you also played sports, and then as you got older, you got into a couple of sports. You found some friends that played sports as well. You played rugby and ultimate
Hmm.
frisbee.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah. How did
So
those go?
it was it was great. So ultimate frisbee was fun. That's when so I was fast,
Yeah.
or I'll still say I'm fast, but I was fast for my age and my height.
We'll
And
we'll talk about an event where your speed played in your
okay,
favor.
good.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Perfect. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm fast, I'll play this game where you just run around and throw a frisbee, like this is awesome. And then I found out that the kids I was playing with were former track and field like stars, and they're like, oh, I'm just doing this for fun. So, definitely having an upper hand, being tall. So like people throw the Frisbee and jumping up, because you'll like go man to man sometimes, or person to person, and jump up to catch it. So I found out that I was really good at throwing a Frisbee. So then they put me in a position that worked for me. So rather than being a runner, I was more of a handler, is what they called it.
Okay.
So think of it more of like a quarterback. So yeah, like throw the disc to Jon. Jon's going to huck it down the field. He's going to take some time, but he'll sprint to where you were, and then you give him the disc and he'll give it to the next person.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that was cool with Frisbee. And
was there sort of like a gentleman's agreement or a person's agreement on the field that you don't just like stand in front of Jon?
No.
Okay. So people would be kind of like,
oh yeah,
catty about it. Okay.
Yeah, but then I learned to really work on my quick twitch. So like quick breakaways, or we used to have a few plays where it would look like it was going to go to another player, and then I would just start sprinting like quickly, and they'd huck the disc at me. So we found some workaround.
Yeah. Awesome. And then rugby.
Yeah, rugby. So got recruited. I was at a gym, and one of the people, like the coach, actually came up to me and was like, hey, have you ever thought about playing rugby? This was post-grad life. And I was like, I don't know. Like I thought about it, like it looks really cool. And she was like, well, come out, like check out our practice, see what it's like. I promise we'll have a place for you. And I will say, like, there's obviously a fun to the sport, because when you think of rugby, you think of like the injuries, and it's like, oh my God, it's such a dangerous game, but it's actually super safe. But I fell in love with it because anyone can show up to practice or any type of game or event, and there will be a place for you. So the coach, she immediately had a good idea of my position. It's called a flanker. It's usually like in the scrum on the sides.
Okay.
So you're supposed to be very fast during the scrum to either get into a tackle and tackle the person with the ball, or to basically set up for if you won the ball. And it helped because, one, I was kind of lower to the ground already, so I could see the ball and know already who was winning and who was not winning. But regardless, it was great to play. And then also with my chip on my shoulder that will never go away, but a lot of underestimating and just being able to prove people wrong.
Yeah. That's powerful, man. I mean, that chip is if you harness it right, it's powerful, which it sounds like you have. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. So then you're doing rugby and ultimate Frisbee. Also, you met your partner through rugby?
I did. Yeah. No. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, it was cool. I met her through rugby. Rugby brings people together. We were both on other sides of the country. We met through like a social event, hit it off, found out we actually grew up like 2 hours down the street from each other. And then, things worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny how things just work out sometimes, and you're just like, yep, that's the person.
This is it.
We're done here.
Yep. Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So, you're doing that, and then you end up in a CrossFit gym. When did you end up starting doing CrossFit?
Yeah. So I started, my first taste of CrossFit was in 2016, and wasn't the best experience. It was okay, but it kind of, I didn't really do my research. I'll just leave it at that. And then took a break from CrossFit, but then I picked it right back up actually right when COVID hit. Okay. So there was my best friend, he actually was a trainer, not even a coach, but a trainer at a gym. And he's like, hey, we're not, open, but we're doing virtual stuff. Like, you should probably get back into it because you like that high intensity, like see what happens. And the fact that I got hooked when all I had was a kettlebell and a dumbbell and we're doing Murph. It just fell back in love with it and didn't look back.
That's awesome. So if I can go back to that 2016 experience without naming names or throwing anybody under the bus, Were you not adapted for? Were you not like seen as someone who could, were you seen as like too much work or what?
That's a good, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good question. So definitely wasn't adapted for,
Yeah.
I will say. So I like scaled my own weight. It wasn't really a recommendation of here's what you do. And I don't know whether it wasn't to my knowledge yet about other divisions or adaptive divisions, but then
Yeah.
also like what that weight looks like. And then there were a few things where my form was off and I knew it was off. And the coach was like, nope, it's not off. You're, making
Hmm.
excuses type of thing. And I ended up hurting myself because of it. And then
Oh.
that's when I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. A CrossFit that injures you is not CrossFit done appropriately.
no.
I mean, we learned that in the L1. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say this too. I went by not too long ago. It's actually still in New Hampshire, which is where I'm from. That doesn't narrow it down at all. But I drove by it one time and saw that it wasn't around anymore. So whether it didn't work out, things happen. It's unfortunate, or just they didn't really adapt to their members or with the coaching style.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, again, you're a coach. You know this. Like coaching makes or breaks a gym. I mean, community is a close second, but the coaching is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you get back into CrossFit 2020, 2021, you're doing it in your house. You discover at some point that there's this adaptive community out there. How did that happen for you? How did you stumble? I feel like I stumbled into it, but how did you stumble across the adaptive community?
I so stumbled into it.
Yeah.
So I actually lived in Charleston, South Carolina at the time. And a friend of mine was like, hey, dude, have you ever heard of Wheelwad? Like they're based in Raleigh, like area. And that's when I was like, I don't know, like I haven't. And that's when I was used to thinking like scaled is scaled. That's it. There's no adapted version. It's scaled. And then that's when I found out about, their comp. So I started to do some of the virtuals. I never went to any of the in-person final events or anything like that, but I started to do some virtual comps. And then that's when I was able to meet some of the best guys that I've ever known and met through my division. And, ones that I'll definitely keep up to date with, and was able to finally meet in person last year. So,
dude, isn't that the best feeling? Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. There was, a few that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be cool. Like, I hope I'm cool or we're friends, but there's one, and I'll shout him out. Sean Eberly. He's one of the best friends that I made just from that. And when I met him during registration, it was like, we've known each other for years type of thing.
Yeah.
Like not like a nice to meet you. It's like, what's up, dude? Like, how's the flight in type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. When we arrived Tuesday night, I told my coach, I was like, this year I want to do it differently and like socialize a little bit more. And I'd been keeping in touch with a guy from my division called Mael Pedrini, and he was from Uruguay. And so we're messaging, and I just go, hey man, you want to like go get dinner tonight, Tuesday night? And he goes, yeah, sure. And I'm like, cool, we'll pick you up in front of your hotel. And my coach was just like blown away, like, wait a second, this guy's going to get in a car with strangers. He's from Uruguay. He speaks some English, but like he's just going to do it. I'm like, yeah, he'll just do it. It'll be fine. And it was just that vibe of like, we just know each other in some way, that like unspoken connection of being adaptives. That sounds like what you experienced with Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we got dinner that night, and a few other times we hung out, and even afterwards. So it just works out. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, let's talk then about the best event you had at the 2024 games. I mean, you had 2 second place finishes, but let's talk about Enter Sandman.
Awesome.
So
thank you.
It's day 1. We are at Morgan Wonderland.
Hot as hell.
Hot as hell. We are in this covered like gym area, outdoor gym. And what was your workout?
Shuttle runs followed by sandbag carries to shuttle run to sandbag carry to, I think, shuttle run to sandbag carry, if I'm not mistaken, Matt.
And I think there were less shuttle runs each time.
Yes.
I think it was like 4, 3, 2, 1 or something like that, right? But you had to pick up this awkward like noodle, like a sand noodle. It was weird.
Yeah. I
So
was
how did?
grateful ours had the handle on it, but
Oh, nice. Yeah, ours did not. It was just a big noodle.
yeah, that thing was so awkward. I saw that.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, okay, so you won it. I mean, well, you came in second. So, do you feel like your rugby running paid off there? Like, what did it feel like?
It absolutely felt like back to practice with shuttle runs.
Yeah.
And it also was, there was definitely a few spur of moment, like, hey, I'm gonna do this instead. Like, obviously going up to it, you have that mindset, but originally I thought it was just like a sandbag. There wasn't the handle. And then that quick thinking of, I'm going to throw this thing over my shoulder and
Mm.
sprint instead of like, oh, I'm going to front rack carry it, or
Yeah.
I'm going to, bear hug it. It's like, I'm throwing this over my shoulder and
And we're
I'm
going.
moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. That's
No,
awesome.
it was cool. Yeah. It was a tight race. I know for second and third, shout out to Blaze, but he was on the other side, and I was just looking at other Sean Dolphin, and just trying to keep pace with him and move. So I know it was close, but as soon as like when it was done, it was done. It wasn't like okay, this person's done. Wait 5 seconds.
Like
Another
everybody kind of
person can
finished at the
cross.
same time.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah. For
gosh. Yeah. Cause you
yeah,
came in 110 and
hmm
fifth was in 115.
yeah. It was such a tight race.
Oh my gosh. Six was 116. Seven was 117. Oh my gosh, John.
Yeah.
Ninth was 119. Oh my
Yep.
gosh. I got to go watch that one on YouTube.
It was awesome.
Wow. Wow. I'm going to be like, when my wife gets home, I'm going to be like, honey, we are going to watch the short stature event 2 wheel walk games or CrossFit adaptive games.
Yeah, I'll try to find the timestamp and send it to you, because it's like the
Awesome.
3 hour long video.
Right. And I don't want to watch mine because my monitor was failing on my ski erg.
Oh
And,
no.
and I was like, it was the one time I've ever really lost my cool in competition. And I usually
hmm
stay pretty cool, but I just like finished that workout and just turned to my judge and said some very mean things.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about my judge. Like I apologized immediately after that, but it was
hmm
like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of my failures in Enter Sandman, what's one of the hardest moments that you've ever had in the gym?
Hardest moment that I've had in the gym, I would say, is this on like a coaching standpoint or performance standpoint?
Let's start with performance, and then I do want to
Sure.
switch to coaching. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let's
absolutely.
talk about performance.
So performance standpoint is, I have my RX, it's like based off of like the weight and things for short stature, but sometimes I would like to use the RX like prescribed on the
Mm-hmm.
workout. So, hey, if we're throwing 50s around, I'm going to throw a 50 around, or things like that.
Mm,
And there's been times where it's like, okay, I bit off more than I can chew, but I'm going to show these people that I know how to throw down. I'm not just an athlete, I'm a coach here. I'm going to lead by example and finish strong. There was actually, we have our own hero wad that we made. Our gym, just quick little plug, is very first responder focused.
okay.
And
What is
we
your
have,
what is your affiliate?
yeah, so the affiliate is CrossFit Everyday Heroes,
Okay.
also known as Upstate Nevada. And we tailor to first responders, whether it's former or current military, medical, teachers, anything like that. But then we have a huge push and following and coaching for adaptive. So whether it's seated, we have a few that are below elbow. We have classes that are ID. But one of our hero wads was for a member of ours who passed in a care flight. And
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those workouts where I'm like, this is an important workout. This is a hero workout. I'm going to do this RX.
Yeah.
So it's a weighted vest run followed by 2 rounds of benching with weighted vest, deadlifts with weighted vest, and wall balls. And then you go for another run, which was the first run was like his year of birth, and then the second run was his year of passing.
Okay.
And there was a time where I'm like, I am not in a good spot right now. Like you go to that dark place,
Yeah.
but it's a hero wad. You have that idea of, this is happening for a reason. And then looking around and seeing members too that are there to do the same thing or not in a great spot, but they look at you and it's like, all right, cool, I'm putting on this smiling face because we're going to get through this. And then seeing them realize it and affirm and all that, it's makes it worth it to push through. But that was, dark place, both emotionally and physically, of course.
Yeah. And so physically, I mean, when you push hard as a short stature athlete, like for a neuro athlete, we'll have things like neuro crash or things where like our bodies will just really crash out on us. Do you experience anything blood pressure related or heat stroke related or anything like that being short stature?
Yeah, I would say more joint related.
Okay.
Just because a majority of those with achondroplasia have like a little bit of bow leg. So if there's a lot of, hitting the ground or hinging, squats, depth, things like that, there could be times where it's like, oh, cool, my knee is feeling that way because I'm really, really pushing it, or ankles.
You mentioned also coaching. So do you want to share your worst coaching experience? I'd love to talk also about the adaptive classes that you run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So worst coaching experience was fairly new when I started coaching. And I was teaching a member. It was actually, I know we were talking about overhead squats earlier, but it was with an overhead squat. And I was like, hey, you're not doing this right, in a nice way. Let's work on this. Like, your arms should be locking out. That was the example. And they were like, okay, like, I got it, Jon, thank you. And then, and this was after the demo. And then I did it again. And I'm like, hey, I said arms locked out. And then it clicked that with me, my arms, they lock out fully, but when they lock out fully, they're not perfectly straight. So it was one of those, I saw what Jon is doing, I'm doing what Jon is doing. And just it felt like that wave of, oh my God, like that realization. And then told them, I'm like, okay, stretch out your arms full length, active shoulders, armpits out, perfect. And then that's when it clicked of, some things I'm going to have other people demo for me.
Yeah. Or you're going to have to use that verbal cue instead of the visual, right? Like, yeah, you're right though. I mean, and that is so true to adaptives trying to get into the coaching space or succeeding in the coaching space. Is we have to, not only do we have to adapt workouts, we also have to adapt our coaching skills, right? And so you recently took a class that's aimed towards helping coaches be better adaptive coaches. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my AIT certification. Alec was there, Jenna, Tom, and Mike. It was a great time. And it was really cool to not just like learn from them, but then also share my experiences too. Like, they asked me a few times, as well as another athlete that was there, who was getting her cert, of like, hey,
Elena, right?
Yeah.
Friend
Elena.
of the pod.
Yep. She's awesome.
Yeah.
All the way from Detroit to Reno. It was crazy.
And she's a bilateral amputee. I mean, just insane.
Yeah. No, she's a monster. So they were asking us, like, specifically for, examples for us. And then what was really nice to learn was how I could better improve a workout for athletes who, specifically for my knowledge, like on the seated division. So like me thinking, okay, well, we have a row or we have a run. It's like, okay, do you want to, go out there and sprint with your chair, or do you want to stick with rowing and we're dialed down the calories? But then learning like the fatigue aspect of, hey, they use their arms daily and this is for their life. Like, we have to think about, making sure they get the most out of the workout and the stimulus. But if they're sore for 2 days and can't move their arms, like, how do you think their daily lifestyle is going to be? So learning, I know, it was like the light bulb. So learning about that, and then like different variations. So like, okay, if we're doing any type of cows or any type of meters, like skiers are the best friend. Like, if we have them, we're using them. And also like the variation of weights or, battle ropes. Like we've used battle ropes before, but like how to count singles even just because they're so fast when they
Yeah.
rip them. Like,
Yeah, I saw the video of Tom sending it on the multi rope.
yeah,
Yeah.
that guy, it was really cool to learn like the counting. It's like you only count single digits. That's it. You
Yeah.
don't go into 11, 12. You do 1, 2, and then like 2, 1,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then also learning about the possibilities of equipment, of attachment, and looking out for your athletes, like
Yeah.
neuro as an example. It's like, okay, is it hot? Like we got to make sure that we have, misters specifically for some, or, it might be cold out, but turn those fans on. All the way to, hey, this is what we normally do for adapting like a seated, like let's do this instead. Just try to think of things outside the box, but also keep that stimulus.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep the stimulus. That's huge. I love it. And that's called the AIT. It's the Adaptive Inclusive Trainer. Okay, cool. Awesome.
And one of my biggest things, and I'm so happy I got this sticker, and if you don't have it, definitely get it. But it says adapting, and then there's an equal sign, but it's slashed out, and it's for scaling. So adapting is not scaling.
I love that. I love that. That's a good word for any coach that's listening to this who has adaptive athletes. Because like what we do at the games is our RX. Those loads we move, that intensity we hit. All right. Speaking of the games again, what are your goals for this year?
Podium.
You're sitting in second in the open right now. 25.3 hasn't dropped. We'll find out when this airs. We'll know. But dude, I think we're both going to semis, and semis is where the money's made.
I'm really happy with how hot I came out. Last year I did get a lot of good learning opportunities, whether from my, fellow athletes, my coach, and then other people, in the space. But, I'm hitting it hard, see what I can do, and don't be afraid to do a redo.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Especially in semis. Oh man.
Yeah. I actually, so a quick side note, I actually had to do a redo for 25.2. I kid you not, I got it done. I was in the car driving home in traffic, and then I realized that my starting barbell weight was wrong.
No. Oh my God. Oh.
And it wasn't even like, more, it was less. So I'm like, well, guess I got to do this.
We're doing this again.
Yep.
All right, dude, you got time for a lightning round?
Let's go.
All right, dude. So if there's one movement you would never have to see again, what would it be?
Turkish get-ups.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Gone with you.
But I'm the guy that loves burpees and thrusters. Or devil's presses.
Oh. Grossing me out, man. If you could pick the music every day at the gym, what would be playing?
EDM or metal.
Okay. All right. That would not be my type of music, but I would still take your class. I would still be very excited to be coached by you, but
perfect.
I would not enjoy the music, but that's okay.
Okay.
We all have our tastes. Who would be your dream workout partner?
Wow. Lightning round.
You gotta have an answer.
Bridges.
Oh, Josh Bridges. I love it. Because of the mustache, like the
mustache. And also like, I'm pretty sure that when he joined, he was like one of the shortest athletes.
He was.
And he just ran house. So would love to work out with Bridges someday.
I love that. All right. Final question. And this is based upon a conversation we were having earlier before we started recording. What is the best JRPG video game ever created?
Final Fantasy VII.
Oh my gosh. You are not lying. And I can't say I've ever played it.
Oh my God, it's so good, especially the remake.
All right, dude, I got two final questions for you. So if someone's new to adaptive CrossFit and they're listening to this, maybe they're short stature, maybe they're not, what would be the best piece of advice you would give them to get into a gym?
The best piece of advice would be to have an open mind on how you can enhance your day-to-day life. And then go to a gym after doing your research of a well-known gym or one that seems to have the same like things that you like, and then have that conversation with a coach or a head coach of, here's where I am, here's where I want to be, but also here's where my limitations are, and here's where my limitations aren't, and here's what I'm capable of. I feel like that's huge, especially with we drank the Kool-Aid, but like the functional aspect of it, like it's helped my life so much.
Right. Because I feel like we lose that on the competitive side sometimes, right? Because we start focusing on the numbers and getting on the leaderboard. And then it's like, wait a second, but like before I started this, my muscles were atrophying and I would have been using a walker by the time I was 50.
Exactly.
Like, oh, wait a second, perspective. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then if you could encourage a younger version of yourself, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that one day you're going to back squat over 300 pounds. So get to the gym, buddy.
I love it. I love it. One day you're going to be a badass. Yeah. That's awesome, Jon. Well, hey man, thanks so much for being on the podcast. This has been so much fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. I've had a blast.
Thanks. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Take care.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the podcast. I loved Jon's energy, his resiliency, his desire to just keep pushing forward. I loved how he did a ton of sports, from rugby to ultimate Frisbee, but then ultimately found competitive CrossFit and found coaching within that CrossFit community, including expanding his credentials to becoming an adaptive trainer. If you want to learn more about becoming an adaptive trainer yourself, you can go to the adaptive training website, ata.fit. That's ata.fit, to learn more about adaptive training seminars going on near you and to find adaptive and inclusive trainers in your local area. Also, if you want to follow Jon's journey and the journey of other adaptive athletes this season, you can mark your calendars for September 12th through 14th, when the Adaptive CrossFit Games by Wheelwad will be happening in Las Vegas, Nevada. We would love to see you guys there. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the podcast. I'm Matt Hotho, and I'll catch you next time.